I'd like to begin with a popular phrase, little drops makes a mighty ocean. It begins with those little actions you take to dispose refuse in an open space. That is what piles into becoming toxic waste. Open dumping has become a common practice, and as the population grows, so does the volume of waste. Waste management in Nigeria is a pressing challenge, especially with poor disposal systems, inadequate recycling infrastructure, threatening the health and well-being of communities, leading to environmental pollution and the obstruction of drainage systems. Despite policies and practicable steps taken by key players, the nation is still plagued by the burden of improper waste management. Some stakeholders are calling for collaborative effort to translate policies into action through innovative and sustainable solutions for effective waste management, adding that consistent environmental sanitation may just be an easy way out. But what is the level of public compliance with sanitation policies? Tonight, we will be evaluating persistent gaps across regions and stakeholder engagement in improving waste management. Beyond the bin, policy, responsibility and action. And our guest is Dr. Michael Terungwa David, Executive Director, Global Initiative for Food Security and Ecosystem Preservation. He's also the African Regional Director, Climate Civics International. Thank you for joining us. This is Weekend File. I'm Ruth Aguele. Before we start unpacking the issues, let's begin with the latest development across the country. President Bola Tinubu has reaffirmed his administration's commitment to peace, food security, empowerment and infrastructural development across the country. President Tinubu made the commitment at the grand finale of the 64th edition of Argungu International Fishing and Cultural Festival. State House correspondent Musbahuddin Wahab reports.
And leading him to this arena,
Argungu International Fishing and Cultural Festival, since the last edition in 2020, got bigger this year. The festival, recognized for its uniqueness by UNESCO in 2016, recorded another feat with the presence of a #1 citizen. President Tinubu was a special guest of honor to witness the 83-year-old festival. Governors from far and near also joined in. Over 50,000 fishers from various states of the Federation dived into the historic Matamfada section of the Rima River. They hoped for the biggest catch and perhaps a presidential recognition. Abubakar Usman from Kebbi State emerged winner with his 59 kg catch.
A festival that is not only cultural attribute of Kebbi State, but also a symbol of unity, heritage, resilience and economic opportunity of our dear people.
Very good show. Remarkable history.
President Bola Tinubu was delighted by the festival held this year, attesting to the gradual return of peace in some troubled areas.
The relative peace we are witnessing today in this region is not accidental. It is the result of sustained investment in security, intelligence gathering, and community engagement. I assure you that the fight against insecurity of any kind of banditry and insurgents will be won.
And in collaboration with subnational governments, the president promises that his administration will continue to strive at improving the living standard of Nigerians.
We are deliberately investing in programs that empower youth, women, and rural communities. And I reaffirm my commitment to peace, empowerment, food security, and infrastructural development of the Federation.
President Tinubu also inaugurated some projects executed by Governor Nasir Idris of Kebbi State. The president is back in Abuja. Musbal Wahab, NTA News.
Vice President Kashim Shettima this Saturday joined other leaders across Africa and beyond at the opening of the 39th Ordinary Session of the Assembly of Heads of State and Government of the African Union in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. The President of the Republic of Burundi, Evariste Ndayishimiye, has taken over as the new chairman of the African Union for 2026, succeeding the outgone chairman, President João Manuel Lourenço of Angola. Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed Ali at the summit emphasized the need for African leaders to be unanimous in their resolve to champion the socio-economic transformation of the continent. UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres expressed African Union support and solidarity with the global body, describing the partnership with Africa as unwavering, decisive support of the African group in the UN initiative after initiative in the shared struggle for justice and equality. The outgone chairperson of the African Union, President Lourenço of Angola, said the AU, under his leadership and the cooperation of member states, has made significant progress in enhancing inclusive growth, provision of critical infrastructure and human capital development, among others. Besides the remarks by leaders representing regional blocs and development partners at the meeting, the plenary witnessed the assumption of office of the new chairperson of the African Union, President Ndayishimiye of the Republic of Burundi. And now to electoral matters. INEC says it has taken due notice of concerns expressed by stakeholders regarding the coincidence of the scheduled dates for the 2027 general election with certain national recognized holidays and observances. A statement by INEC National Commissioner for Information, Mohammed Kudu Haruna, notes that in view of these concerns, the Commission is currently undertaking consultations and may, where necessary, seek appropriate legislative intervention to address the issues raised, while ensuring that any adjustment remains consistent with constitutional and statutory requirements. INEC reiterates its commitment to transparency, inclusivity, and the credible conduct of the 2027 general election. The public will be duly informed of any further developments. The House of Representatives will reconvene for an emergency sitting that will be on Tuesday, February 17, 2026. Now, this is to review matters arising from the recent announcement of the 2027 general election timetable by the Independent National Electoral Commission. House spokesman Akin Rotimi says deliberations at the emergency sitting will focus on the election schedule, as the House has resolved to respond promptly to issues with far-reaching implications for the nation's democratic process. Ahead of the 6th Area Council's election scheduled to hold next week Saturday in the Federal Capital Territory, the All Progressives Congress, APC North Chapter, has organized training to equip party agents to best electoral procedures and practices during and after the exercise. Zonal leaders of the party appreciated the massive support accorded to the party so far and urged agents to be of good conduct as a further proof of the party's growing influence in the new phase of Nigeria's democracy, which President Tinubu exemplified in his renewed hope message.
They should know their right. They should know what INEC said about them, what is in the manuals of INEC, their roles, and they should to do the job delicately and make sure none of them behave otherwise.
The lecturers are lecturing on how the agents will prepare themselves for the election, and they are prepared. They are ready. They have the capacity and the capability to mind our polling unit in the Federal Capital Territory.
The agents are to be spread across the 6 area councils of the FCT to closely monitor the party's progress in line with INEC regulations. Let's flip to other issues. Another fire outbreak has engulfed a section of Kano's largest provisions market at Kwanar Singa. Amin Umar reports that the incident comes barely a week after a previous blaze destroyed goods worth billions of naira.
At a time when business activities are yet to fully return to normal, following the previous fire incident, another blaze has broken out and the fire is still raging. Firefighters from both public and private organizations are battling to bring the fire under control. However, a heavy traffic gridlock, a large crowd are hampering the operations of the emergency responders. Eyewitnesses say the fire started from a story building known as Gidangilas before spreading to other sections. It started like a smoke, which emanated from that building, and it later escalated to other buildings.
We actually see the outbreak of this inferno around 4:30, but yet there is no any proving or what the cause is, but so many people were saying that it was caused by the solar.
As the crowd continues to mount, shop owners are seen evacuating their goods to prevent further losses. In Kano, Amin Umar, NTA News.
Nigeria's First Lady Oluremi Tinubu has extolled the legacies of late industrialist Chief Adekunle Ojora as a devoted Muslim who promoted religious harmony in the country. She made the remark during a condolence visit to the family of the deceased in Ikoyi, Lagos. State House correspondent Adeni Taiwo reports.
It was not a quiet Valentine's Day at the Ojora family residence in Ikoyi, Lagos, where Nigeria's First Lady Oluremi Tinubu arrived for a condolence visit over the passing of their patriarch, late Chief Adekunle Ojora. She was received by a daughter of the deceased, Dr. Toyin Saraki, and her husband, former Senate President Bukola Saraki.
You've always been in my heart, and also my, Mr. President's.
On behalf of President Bola Tinubu and herself, the First Lady offered words of comfort to the widow of the deceased, Erelu Ojolakwe Ojora, who she commended for standing strong as the matriarch of the family.
Daddy has been there, both of you, you've been together in a very respectful, loving relationship that we all even pray to have. You've been a model couple for us.
Recalling her several encounters with the deceased at church services, despite being a devout Muslim, the First Lady says the family has a lot to be proud of in the legacies of the late Otumba of Lagos, who not only distinguished himself as an industrialist, but also as a promoter of religious harmony in words and deeds. The visit was applauded by members of the Ojora family, led by the matriarch, who prayed for the success of President Bola Tinubu.
And you have always been my daughter.
We are thankful for the affection that you've shown for us, and we pray that we'll all continue to have the same sort of cordial relationships going forward.
Late Chief Adekunle Ojora died on January 28, 2026 at the age of 93 and has since been buried according to Islamic rites. From Lagos, Adeni Taiwo, NTA News.
All right. Thank you for staying tuned. Nigeria's mountain waste management crisis is fast becoming one of the most visible signs of the country's rapid urban transformation, from overflowing dump sites in major cities to clogged drainage systems and growing towns. The challenge of managing solid waste reflects deeper structural issues. But Mina Daniels will tell us more.
Nigeria's mountain waste management crisis is fast becoming one of the most visible signs of the country's rapid urban transformation. From overflowing dump sites in major cities to clogged drainage systems in growing towns, the challenge of managing solid waste reflects deeper structural issues: urbanization, infrastructure deficits, weak enforcement, and limited institutional coordination.
Nigeria generates over 32 million tons of solid waste annually, comprising a wide range of waste types. These waste streams pose distinct challenges and require tailored approaches for collection, treatment, and disposal.
Through initiatives such as National Policy on Plastic Waste Management and the Extended Producer Responsibility Framework, we are laying the groundwork for a more responsible plastic economy.
However, experts argue that while policies exist on paper, enforcement, monitoring, and interagency coordination remain inconsistent.
I don't mean that they will come and put the signboard here and they give us privilege that when we see any person that come and drop the ropes here, we call police and hold him, so that next time they will not come and drop anything here.
The future of Nigeria's urban environment and the health of its citizens depends on turning policy into practice and responsibility into action. In Abuja, Nina Daniels, NTA News.
New action counts, and with annual population growth rate of 3.77%, Lagos State is said to generate about 5.46 million tons of waste annually, with households being the largest contributors, according to the Lagos State Waste Management Authority. Diana Ajale in this report takes a look at the policy landscape and practical solutions needed in achieving a cleaner and healthier environment.
Lagos, the ever-busy commercial hub with a population of more than 17.8 million people, continues to experience increased waste generation. Aware of this and its effects on the environment, the state government has over the years introduced several measures to tackle waste management challenges through innovative policies and partnership.
One of the benefits of recycling is that the environment around us, it's way better. The air is better, the water is better, the food is better.
The linear economy that we're all used to, take, make, use, dump. We're moving away from there.
We need to do a lot more. Far more funds need to be allocated to the various aspects of the waste management system. And then the waste needs to be well sorted, enlightening the public about the harsh reality of what too much waste can do, and also making us responsible citizens.
The government continues to integrate informal waste workers into the formal system, providing training and licensing, while also pushing for circular economic practices to reduce waste and promote sustainability. In Lagos, Diana Ajale, NTA News.
Well, let's bring in our guests. We have Dr. Michael Terungwa David. He's Executive Director, Global Initiative for Food Security and Ecosystem Preservation, and also the African Regional Director, Climate Civics International. Thank you very much for joining us, Dr. David.
Thank you so much for having me, and happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day. And if we even have to start with that love for our environment, there are certain practices you see individuals do, and from reports we're gathering, households contribute more to this waste disposal. I'd like to get your perspective regarding Nigeria's waste management issue.
Thank you. So the waste issues in Nigeria, it's not an issue in context of being a problem, but it's a good problem that we have not turned into an opportunity. If you look at our population, an average person generates about 0.5 kg of waste daily. So if you add that to 365 days, you are looking at about 180 kg of waste generated by every individual annually. So you add that, multiply that to the population of the country, you're looking at nearly 41 million tons. Yes, statistics says it's about 32 million tons. If you look at it from different cities who generate more, different communities who generate more, and of course different strata of the society who could generate even more or less. But the issue really is, as highlighted in the report, The laws are there, the framework. For example, the latest one being the National Policy on Waste Management is very new, just about 2020, about 5 years ago. Yeah. The National Environmental Policy on Waste and Sanitation, 2009. And nearly every state in this country have state waste management agencies. So why is it not working?
That is the question, Dr. David, I'm going to be throwing back at you. Because when you said these policies are there, I know that the private sector, you're from the private sector, you also have a stake in this. I want to hear what sustainability, or rather practical steps, innovative systems that has been put in place from the private sector perspective, because funding is a challenge, so there's a need for PPP. You know what I'm talking about.
Of course. So if we continue to look at waste as a problem and not as an opportunity for investment, then we'll continue to have this problem. It goes beyond blaming citizens for dumping waste in the drainages and on the streets. It's about the right policy and investment, the right infrastructure that would even encourage the private sector to get into the waste business. The informal waste business in Nigeria, it amounts to over $200 million. If you check what the informal sector is, from the attention that is focused on plastic, on metals, leaving out the major chunk of bio-waste. So if you take a look at the different waste we have, if you segregate, we have solid waste, liquid waste, we have medical waste, we have bio-waste, and so many others. Our attention is always on the solid waste, and strictly plastics, and of course metal. We leave bio-waste. Yeah. Bio-waste, which is even more in number in terms of percentage. We don't touch it at all, but it provides big opportunity for investment. With bio-waste, you are generating organic manure. With bio-waste, you are generating biogas. With bio-waste, you are creating jobs for our farmers. You are fertilizing our soils that are going, infertile at the moment. So it's a huge opportunity. But for the private sector to invest in this, the infrastructure has to be right. Starting from the home, waste segregation, a big issue. If we continue with the system of mopping up, lumping everything together and just trashing, then it's difficult for anyone to invest, because the big issue is waste segregation.
This waste segregation, it's working in other climes of the world, around the world. For Nigeria, I don't know how that will work, especially when people are just used to dumping everything in the bin. That aside, you talked about the investment. There's also the aspect of recycling initiative, which we see the private sector more into the recycling thing. And the federal government has also shown commitment to this recycling, which needs a lot of investment. I'd like to get your submission on the kind of commitment the private sector is getting at the federal and at the subnational to make this thrive, talking about recycling.
So there are two aspects to this. There is the user responsibility, and then there is also the producer responsibility. As a matter of fact, when it comes to plastic waste, it is cheaper to produce than to recycle. And that's why the producers will continue to throw out more plastic waste into the environment. Nearly all the plastics that have been produced are still within the environment. If you dump it, it flows into the ocean, it's there. If you burn it, it becomes emissions, and it goes into the atmosphere, and it's still there. So the right investment must come hand in hand with the producer responsibility alongside public awareness to change the mentality of people to understand that waste in itself is not waste. And you see around, I don't want to call them people within the informal sector. You drop a plastic bottle, they pick them up.
The scavengers?
The scavengers and even other people, But when you add all of this together and try to make it a business in some form, it's a bit difficult. For you to get 1 kg of that PET bottle, because if you want to sell, you have to compact all or break them into pieces and then you weigh them. We tried at a time to introduce this to a school, and the students gathered all the plastic bottles that they had in the school for the whole term, and where they kept it, you will see a huge storm. But by the time it was compressed, it became very little. And in fact, the costs that we paid for, the entire quantity they had, the cost of transportation was even more than the cost of the entire quantity they had. So this also discourages the small-scale people to go south, and that's why the real investment has to be done. But for us to really get it right, is not to be looking at the federal government alone. I always want to emphasize on the state governments, for example. We're looking at environment without borders. We are looking at waste without borders. In Abuja here, when it's about to rain, when the wind is very strong, you see plastic and the polythene bags flying all the way from Maraba Nyanyan or into the city. Maraba Nyanyan is in Nasarawa State, right? So the Nasarawa State government on their own need to take advantage of that population of people in Nasarawa State that generate within that area, that generate that quantity of waste. Where does this waste go? Where does it end up? It shouldn't just be about the metals. The metals you won't find because the scavengers will pick them up immediately. The plastic bottles, they are gone. But the organic waste that is huge, that pollutes groundwater, that block all the drainages, that we produce on a daily basis from food waste, from all the markets around, we just need that right investment. And that cannot just come from the private sector alone. Like I keep saying, the government must set the line straight for the private sector to have confidence to really invest in waste recycling as it currently is.
Dr. David, I know some state governments have demonstrated their commitment with policy implementation, but more commitment needs to be done. We'll pause, we'll take a break, we'll be back, we'll pick up. As the Kano state government intensifies the implementation of its new waste management policy, sanitation is now being taken directly to the streets. Fatima Sanusi Karai reports.
Throwaway attitude is not peculiar to Kano alone. For years, heaps of waste have clogged streets, markets, and neighborhoods, turning daily life into a struggle against filth and disease, while waste picking remained a means of survival at the margins of many scavengers. Today, the story is slowly changing. Through a structured intervention by the Refuse Management and Sanitation Board, Kano State, scavengers are being trained on modern techniques for safe waste collection and how to connect with organized waste operators.
We are trying to establish waste bank in schools also, where students will be bringing in their recyclable items to the bank. That bank will be set up in 100 schools for starting within Kano Metropolis.
For Awal, a young waste picker at one of Kano's busy collection points, he says the training has helped him separate plastic and metals properly.
This training has helped me immensely. Now I make 3,000 to 4,000 daily.
Beyond income, the program is also opening doors for women who are being trained to trade recyclable waste for essential household items.
Government have to impose order on people to provide what is called polluter pays solution, that when you pollute, evacuate.
For Awal, the future is beginning to be brighter. But for a city where indiscriminate disposal remains the norm, the consequences will be far less hopeful. In Kano, Fatima Sanusi Garai for Weekend File.
Thank you, Fatima, for pointing out those issues. Dr. David, you saw Kano. That's just one, and we know it's peculiar to other states across the country. The health implication is my concern. You mentioned awareness, but are people really aware of these health implications of this open dumping?
I think they are, but I strongly want to say that the bigger issue is that we are reactive to the issue. What I see going on in Kano is more like, okay, we have this big issue, so what else do we do? So it's just being reactive. And when we don't plan and we become very reactive, then we don't get the solutions right. It's a good step, I would say, but when we are developing or designing urban centers, one of the first things, apart from roads and water, then we need to begin to think of waste disposal, appropriate waste evacuation and all. If we don't put this into the designs, then we'll end up being reactive as it is. So we don't have to wait for, waste dump to fill up everywhere before we start bringing small tricycles to evacuate waste. And the question to ask again is, to where? People need to know the health implications of waste disposal. I take one example. Have you ever asked your mechanic what happened to the waste engine oil when you service your car?
They always keep it, and I wonder why.
Well, they sell some, but when you visit the mechanic yard and you see that the whole of that place, there's no vegetation, it tells you that that waste from the engine oil is dangerous to the environment, right? And that's why there is no vegetation around. Sadly, some of them dump this in drainages, which flows into the rivers. Now, think of the quantity, the number of cars that we have in this country, millions of cars, and then think about the volume of used engine oil that is released into the environment. Many of it sink into groundwater, many of it flows into streams that communities even drink. Let's take a simple example of drainages within our neighborhoods. These PET bottles, plastic bags, they clog the drains. Water does not flow, so they provide the right breeding environment for mosquitoes. And of course, you know that malaria is the #1 killer disease, around the world. And so when people around communities are treating malaria over and over, you quickly forget that your drainages are blocked and you are responsible. The health implication of plastics generally is huge. And that's why I commend the Lagos state government for the ban on single-use plastic. Especially that wicked one. The wicked one called styrofoam.
Yes.
That one that they just serve food in, and after eating it, that's the end.
Smash it.
You smash it. Where does it go? It's still within the environment.
So this brings us to the issue of awareness, sanitation practice. I remember growing up, we used to have that, right? We're seeing some states picking up. They want to, introduce that practice again. But it really takes individuals committing to keeping their environment first clean. Small communities, satellite towns coming together to say, we can do this. Where do we go from here, Dr. David?
Yes, awareness creation can never be enough. We need to continue to create awareness, and I must commend NTA for the opportunity to have a program like this to let the public know that it is very important to dispose of our waste properly, to recycle where possible, to segregate waste where possible. You know, the National Orientation Agency also need to step up on this very important issue that affects us all. I mean, like today we are celebrating Valentine's Day, and the question is, who is the better lover? The environment that gives us everything. It gives us water, gives us the fresh air and all. What are we doing to take care of this environment that is loving us more than we even love ourselves? So we need to sensitize people. One of the things that my organization does is work with young people in schools. We know that when you start with them from that age, they grow up with it, and they also sensitize even their parents, you know, at home, in the churches, in the mosques, and everywhere. We need to sensitize people that, look, we must control the way our waste is being done.
Okay. Dr. Michael David, thank you so much. And if I'll add to that, I know the NOA has an art they play constantly on NTA that has to do with, is an animation and awareness on don't dump your refuse and all of that. But like you said, more can be done. Thank you so much for coming on Weekend File. And that's to enjoy your Valentine, Dr. David, because you've been hammering on Valentine.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So let's take a break for sports, and our sportsman, Ayodeji Makinde, is set. Hello, Ayo. Always nice to see you.
Thanks so much, Ruth. Well, let's begin with football. Nigeria is through to the final round of qualifiers for the FIFA Under-20 Women's World Cup after securing a 2-1 victory over Senegal in Dakar. The win sealed a 3-1 aggregate triumph for the Nigerian side following their narrow 1-0 success in the first leg last week in Abeokuta. Nigeria's Falconets will take on Mali in the final round of the qualifiers as they bid to qualify for the 2026 FIFA Women's World Cup in Poland from September 5 to 27. Back here, Joseph Atule scored in the 85th minute as Barrow FC pipped Kun Khalifat by a lone goal on match day 26 of the Nigeria Premier Football League. 8 matches are lined up for Sunday, with defending champions Remo Stars taking on Abia Warriors, while Kwara United hosts Kano Pillars. Plateau United travel to face El Kanemi Warriors, and Shooting Stars welcome Warri Wolves to their newly adopted home of MKO Abiola Stadium in Abeokuta. Rivers United now rounding off their match against RS Berkane, and they are 3-0 down in the final Group A fixture of the CAF Champions League in Morocco. The Port Harcourt side have already bowed out of the competition after a disappointing campaign that saw them record 4 defeats and a draw. Their hopes of progression were effectively ended last week following a 4-1 home loss to defending champions Pyramids FC of Egypt. In other news, mixed martial arts will debut at the 15th Biennial Police Games, which is ongoing at the Stephen Keshi Stadium in Asaba, Delta State. About 6,000 athletes and officials from Nigeria Police Force, drawn from state commands and headquarters, were involved in the match past, and as the quest for earners begins in 37 events across track and field, indoor and outdoor. President Bola Tinubu, represented by Minister of Defense General Christopher Musa, charged the athletes to uphold the spirit of sportsmanship, compete with honor, and uphold standards which the police is renowned for, as the next set of potential national and international champions emerge over the next 6 days.
Sport cultivates the habits that sustain effective security institutions and deepen public confidence in those entrusted with the protection of the society. I want to remind all our athletes of the goal of this biennial event, which is to celebrate strength. They are more than a tradition. They are a statement that policing is not only about enforcement, but about endurance.
All right, so police is your friend. They also play games. That's your sports. It's back to Ruth.
Thank you, Ayo. Okay, so let's check. All right, and as we close tonight's Weekend File, we'll pause for the brave children who whose battles are far bigger than their years. Young hearts showing us what courage truly means. Tomorrow, Sunday, 15 February, is International Childhood Cancer Day, a day for global collaborative campaign to raise awareness about childhood cancer and to express support for children and adolescents with cancer. It reminds us that hope is not a fragile thing. It lives in every smile, every small victory, every hand held through the storm. Together, let us raise our voices for all children and adolescents with cancer so they can benefit from the best possible treatment, care and support, regardless of where they live in the world. May awareness grow, may support deepen, and may healing come sooner for every child still fighting. On the flip side, so we didn't forget, today is actually Valentine's Day. And in case you didn't celebrate the day, we're sending love and light to you. And besides, tomorrow is also Singles Awareness Day. That's right. Well, it serves as a counterpoint to Valentine's Day and to promote self-love, friendship and appreciation for single life. The day serves as a reminder that being single can be fulfilling and enjoyable, right? Well, I hope that's a consolation. Until next time, let's kindness lead and let hope shine. I'm Ruth Aguele. Good night.